Hello, my name is Silas, and I'm going to be the voice in your head for today's video. If that's an unfamiliar name to you, then you may have known me in the past as Dover or Duckmaster. I'm just here to clarify a few things before I get on to the whole thing. One, I'm completely reading what Bree has given me, and so if you have any questions, do your best to ask me. I'll be joining some public Discord servers just so I can be more readily accessible, but I don't have as great of a wealth of information regarding this subject in comparison to Bree. I will not be able to answer everything, and I will not be hounding Bree with questions from people so as to not overwhelm her. If I find that there is just cause to mention something to her, then I will, and said information will be clarified as soon as possible. I also ask of you guys to not witch hunt any of the names that are going to be censored, because there's going to be a buttload of screenshots. I trust that the people involved are very aware and are holding themselves accountable. Or, on the other hand, I wish for those that were negatively affected by this person to find closure. These situations are very, very difficult, and as someone who has been through situations like this, having a safe space is just very, very critical. So please do not threaten others' recoveries and safety for the sake of your own greed for knowledge. Anyways, that's enough from me. I will now get on to Bree's testimony. Hi friends, this is Bree. I'm a J2 community member, tower builder, and Atos developer. I have absolutely no clue how to ease into this topic, so I'm just going to jump straight into it. For initial context, from November 28th, 2022 to May 3rd, 2024, I was in a long-distance relationship with Roblox user and community member at Index with a Q for an A, or Sakunil on Discord. Our relationship at the moment was fine. I could go into details as to why he wasn't the greatest romantic partner to me, but most of that is not indicative of his overall behavior as a person. I don't need to bother you guys with unnecessary details. I also have never suffered direct abuse from him. However, he would constantly hide very disgusting things from me. He came clean about a couple of those things to me while we were together, one of which is what made me break up with him. You'll learn these things soon. During our relationship, and also for almost 2 months after we broke up, I still tried my hardest to forgive him. I chalked them up to his insecurities, as well as misunderstandings on both of our parts. I thought he just needed help. My last real conversation with him was on June 22nd, 2024, where I told him as such, that I'm still here for him, and he just needs some help. What would change this for me is the information I'd happened to find out about him the very next day. I'm already sorry for the structure of this backstory. I'm making this so much more suspenseful than it really needs to be. I'd just rather have everything I have to say speak for itself when it comes up. I don't need a summarizing thesis. This context is just important. Anyways, what I'd find out that day is something that had changed my entire perspective of him. I feel that you people who associate yourself with him deserve to know what I now know, as they truly contrast to the type of person he makes himself out to be in public and to most of his friends. What I will say is that I can already tell that the culmination of the things he'd done is becoming a traumatic experience to me. So I please ask you guys to take what I'm saying seriously. I don't want to see jokes about this like I see so many people here do when someone gets outed for something. I'm also not directly calling for him to get completely exiled from any community. If that happens, I won't complain. If you watch this and you decide to still keep him in your life, I'm okay with that too. Just don't harass me, please. I'll also be turning off my DMs to strangers for the release of this video. The amount of attention this could potentially draw to me in the community is honestly scaring me, and so I don't want to be flooded by people. Also, please don't send me a friend request if you don't really know me just so you can DM me. I won't accept. Lastly, whatever you do with this information, please handle it in a mature way. You can cut him off, not trust him, keep him around, whatever, but do not do things such as going out of your way to harass him or send threats to him. Harassing someone is never the right thing to do. As I'm the person who suffered as a result of what he did and hid, I don't want him being harassed either. Let people exist and hopefully he changes for the better in the future. I'll be talking about everything in chronological order of when I found out about them, not when he did them. Also, as a content warning, a lot of this evidence gets very intimate, often sexual, and very descriptive. If you are a minor and slash or are sensitive to these topics, I'll throw in a couple warnings for when they're being read out. I'll edit in timestamps throughout the video to skip so you get to miss out on the worst of it, and you'll just get to hear the explanation of why these things have affected me so badly. Last bit of overall context, pretty much all my friends, as well as myself, can attest to me being someone who's uncomfortable with sexual topics and the thought of doing sexual acts. I don't consider myself entirely asexual, as I don't have much reason to be, but I've never ever entertained the thought of being sexual at all to Index during our relationship, for my own comfort, and he always knew that I was against it. In fact, Index would play up this lie to me throughout our entire relationship that we were actually in the same boat, and that he was relieved that I had no sexual desires. Here's some screenshots that date back to even to before we were official that proves this. Why choose sex when you can cuddle with your loved ones, which helps with your mental health and make you happier? I ain't horny and people don't think I'm weird. Okay, well, another one is, like, seeing how you talk to people you're in a relationship with, I feel like I wouldn't be good enough for you compared to them. Because I'm not the type to say, like, I love you every 5 seconds or stuff like that. I mean, I'd say it often, but not, like, all the time. And, like, I remember with blank, he would say stuff like, we're gonna have sex on this couch! And that is just not me. Trust me, I don't care about how frequently you say I love you. I just like reminding my significant other that I care about them daily. Oh yeah, I do it daily. That is absolutely not my concern at all. That's in fact more refreshing for me that you aren't horny. Keep these in mind while hearing me out, since it definitely changes the context of everything. This first bit will be about something that came to my attention about 2/3 of the way into our relationship. Index didn't just confess this unprompted. The person on the other end brought it to my attention. Index developed a very close friendship with another person around mid to late 2023. They hung out a ton every day for a while, more time than he spent with me. And Index eventually started feeling a very close connection with this person. He'd never describe it as romantic or as a crush, but he was obviously dependent on this person. I was too naive at the time to see much wrong with that. I mean, I was in love with him. Eventually, this comes to a climax when they finally meet up. They'd spend the night together, and Index had put it into the plans that he came up with weeks beforehand, that they'd be sleeping in the same bed together. I knew nothing about those plans. Nothing sexual occurred that night, however, they did end up cuddling. This is something that friends do. Friends can also say they love each other. I literally do this too. However, Index's expression to others about how much he was into the cuddling in the moment, as well as the fact that this stuff was pre-planned, deeply disturbs me when grouped in with everything else I know. These first two screenshots are a conversation between the person Index met up with and an uninvolved friend talking about Index's plan for the meetup. Alright. I don't know, man. I'm feeling overwhelmed again. I just wish we could be good friends, but not in a way where he treats me like I'm his lover or something. But again, if I told him that, oh boy, I'm afraid he's gonna make himself the victim. Yeah, he already has someone. He has to actually stay loyal. Yeah. Keep another thing between us, and it's honestly something I really don't want because I'm straight and he has a girlfriend. So, you know how I'm going to California? My flight is tomorrow, and I'm meeting up with him. Yes, not tomorrow, but like meeting up with him when I'm there. He wants me to sleep over. But not only that, slept downstairs, my bad. He wants me to like sleep with him in the same bed and cuddle. This next conversation is Index talking to another uninvolved friend about them cuddling while it was happening. I love her, vids. He even fell asleep. Well, doesn't it feel wrong cuddling him? as a friend. I guess, but, like, still, that's not something friends do. It is. Not every friend does it, but it's something they can do. You do you, but don't get too into it. The fourth and fifth screenshots here are DMs that Index sent to the person he met up with before the meetup. Thank you so much. I really need warmther right now. I love you. I love yous Oz so much. Thoughts of what it'd be like to kiss you. Thoughts of what it'd be like to kiss if you came over to my house. Thoughts of being sandwiched or caressing. The picture fucking provoked this. I'm just gonna quickly attach a little video clip here that proves that last screenshot about the kissing was not sent to Bree. Continuing on, when I talked about what happened with him, I easily forgave him for this, as I didn't really want to accept that he'd do anything wrong. I gave in to his excuses, formed some of my own for him, and even defended him for quite some time to others when someone else brought this to light. I thought he was just touch-starved from dating me but not being able to hug or cuddle like we talked about. I thought this incident was just him projecting his feelings from me onto this other person. This is an excuse he'd later use in the next incident, as he knew it's one I expressed sympathy for. Knowing everything else, though, I do think this actually is much more disturbing than I made it out to be originally. I wish I still had my initial conversation with him about this to show here to y'all. However, after we had that discussion, he had us delete all of our messages from it under the excuse that he didn't want to think about it anymore. I complied immediately, and looking back at it, that's also super sketch. Genuinely, this is absolutely not something that you just talk about in such a tone to any friend of yours while you're in an exclusive relationship. It truly is crossing a line. I'm not swiping that under the rug anymore. The next thing I'd find out is what would prompt me to actually break up with him. For the last multiple months of our relationship, not entirely sure how long, Index had been in a genuine emotional affair with someone else behind my back. Index would come clean to this much on his own, and I broke up with him that same night. He would express to me that he had developed a crush on this person during the affair. I would offer to continue the relationship if he had cut this person off. He'd refuse this offer because he was too scared to hurt his feelings. Screenshots of small snippets of this conversation will be now provided. Can I ask what's making them want to vent that out to you and reciprocating it? No, it's me who is venting out that affection. I'm trying to word this. I'm so sorry. I'm fucking collapsing right now. Because of me letting out that affection, they grew even closer to me. I'm so sorry for asking so many questions while you're feeling like this, but I just want to know every single atom of information there is to know about this. I'm the one who should be sorry. I feel terrible. I feel unloyal. I feel like a piece of crap. I have thoughts on that, but I want to ask first, I want to know exactly the kinds of things you were saying to him, word for word. I've been saying stuff like I love you, but not in the romantic way. I don't think that justifies it, though. I don't feel like it does. I've also been telling them that they mean a lot to me, that type of stuff. Similar to the stuff I've said to you, back when it was different and you were more expressive. I feel so terrible. Oh my god, I'm sorry. I'm just thinking. I don't really know what to make of it. I guess what I'll say right now is, to be completely honest, yeah, it is unloyal. And it's not a bad thing to say you love your friends and that they mean a lot to you, but the fact that you focused it all on one person with the intention of venting out romantic feelings is what's getting to me. That one night where he was cuddling with that one dude was honestly really easy for me to let go of, but this is definitely harder to stomach. And it sucks so much because I feel so conflicted, because the fact that you had feelings to vent out in the first place literally means that you love me, but it's not entirely your fault, because obviously I had been doing something wrong to make you feel like I'm not a good outlet for that already, and I've said things that kind of lowered your trust in that. I've genuinely been trying to talk to you more the past few days. Do you feel that it's been getting better, or does it feel the same? I private message you by far the most out of anyone. 80% of my talking on Discord is in GCs and servers, and the other 20% is almost all you. I mean, it's been getting better. I'm really fucking sorry. I can't. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have ever done it in the first place. I should have talked it out with you, and it would have been fine. Yeah, I was going to say, that is where it's your fault. I wish we communicated. Have you still been doing it after we started picking things up? I have. How attached do you feel to him? Very. So be honest, because this is an important question, and think deeply about it, because I need to know the truth right now. Do you feel genuine affection for him? Doesn't matter who you love more right now, do you still feel affection? Yes. And I mean that like as in like a crush? Are you there or just thinking? It's okay if you're just thinking. I'm thinking. I'm also outside because I'm trying to keep myself together. All right. Thank you for thinking about it. I feel like I do, but that doesn't mean that I haven't held it back and tried my best to lock that feeling away. I'm really fucking sorry. Well, I guess I should ask this first. If we do continue, the very minimum would have to be you blocking him and cutting him out of your life entirely. Would you rather stay with me and do that, or would you rather have a more foolproof means of connection and attachment with him at the cost of breaking up with me? Are you AFK, or are you thinking? I'm thinking. I can't do either. I don't have the heart to, but I have to do something. For some tiny context behind these screenshots, the reason why I mentioned talking to him more the past few days and picking things up was because we both had a hard time starting conversations, and it was making conversations less frequent, so I made a commitment to talk to him more. It's nothing super serious. I don't think developing feelings towards someone else is a deal breaker, as long as they immediately pull out all the stops to get rid of those feelings in favor of the ongoing relationship. What he did instead was embrace it, keep it going, and when our entire relationship was on the line as a direct cause of this, he still went forward with that affair. That goes far beyond anything that feeling guilty can justify. If he truly felt guilty, then he wouldn't want that affair to happen in the first place. The day after the breakup, and for about a month or so after the breakup, I still felt attached to him. I couldn't handle suddenly ending things off like that, so I went to him the next day in hopes of being able to move past it and get back together. I didn't care about what happened anymore, I was just desperate. He'd say no, because his guilt was too much to handle. Understandable. However, Index would stay in contact with his affair partner and stay incredibly close with him, contradicting his guilt. They still have close contact with each other as I write this. We made a deal that we'd stay friends, and if he ever feels up for getting back together, we would. After about a month or so, he'd eventually tell me that he chose his affair partner over me, effectively ending all romance between us. What's important about this detail is shown in these screenshots below. That's the thing, we aren't just close because I help him. It's because we just are close. I hate myself, I'm spitting all of it out right now, I can't anymore. I can't back away from him, I can't. There's so many reasons for it, I don't know. It feels nice, it feels so good. He feels the same way too, and I couldn't stop treating him like that. But that's exactly why it isn't healthy for y'all. There's way too much dependency. I shouldn't have made it seem like we just love the affection that we give each other. I can't, dude. This is so hard. But the fact that you physically cannot bring yourself to do something about it shows that you're dependent. I'm attached. Yeah, same thing. You've said you hate yourself multiple times while talking about this. Do you really actually enjoy it then if it makes you feel like that? I hate myself having to bring this up to you and admit to everything. There it is. He actually wasn't guilty about the affair this whole time. He just feels guilty being confronted about it. Go figure. I honestly have nothing more to say about that. I think it speaks for itself. After this, it was pretty much just a month of me justifying his actions in my mind. Again, chalking it up to insecurities and misunderstandings on both of our parts. I thought it was partially my fault because I apparently wasn't safe enough I wasn't safe enough of a space for him to tell me the truth about these things right away. I thought it was partially my fault that he wanted a way out of the relationship in the first place. I still worry if I'm enough for my friends after all of that, even if I know the truth of things now. Everything about this deeply affects me, but this is incredibly shallow compared to the rest. On June 23rd, 2024, I'd have a conversation with a friend who used to be very close friends with Index. This friend of mine, you know who you are, and you're awesome, and thank you for telling me, would tell me about the much more disgusting things that Index was hiding from me during our relationship. The first of this would be that Index had cheated on me more than I'd thought. He'd share his admission of cheating to my friend and saying that it was in a much more sexual context. Here's my first content warning for y'all. I'm going to have a timestamp on the screen just for you to get past it all. It's not as bad as stuff that will be shown in the future, but the warning will just be added just in case. All right, for those of you who are staying, buckle up. Here are the screenshots. Yeah, that is true. I honestly do that with someone, but it's just to get my horny out. There ain't no romance behind it. I still feel bad, though. Like, who do you do it with, though, if you don't mind me asking? And then here Index gives the person's name. The other affair is with someone that I previously had no idea was ever involved in the relationship in any way. They are not either of the two people that were talked about previously. I'm still censoring their name because I truly do not blame any of the affair on this person, and I ask that you don't try and find out who they are either. They don't need that stress in their lives. Not only is this an affair that Index would have never confessed to me about, unlike the other, but it exposes a massive lie that he was putting up to the public and to me in our relationship. The lie being that he had no sexual desires with me and just wasn't a horny person in general. Notice how he seems completely unfazed when talking about it with this person. All he did was sneak in a quick, "oh, well, I feel bad," to protect himself. He was talking like he just caused the end of the world when he confessed his other affair to me, but here he's so casual about it. It's genuinely disgusting. I feel like I'm seeing an entirely different person in these screenshots. I'd been living a bigger lie than I'd thought for the last year and a half of my life. Also, saying that there's no romance behind it is such a lame excuse. Why would that matter at all? Just because you aren't technically together, it's okay? Completely crazy. And I'm sorry for rambling compared to the rest of this script, but this information is still something that I can hardly process and can only spill out my emotions about it at the moment. I have no clue if he had any more affairs. He very well could have, judging by what he's already done. But that's just speculation from me, so don't go around acting like there's more to that, because I'm not sure. Also, as more proof that these screenshots are legit, this friend has a short screen recording that I'm going to be editing into the video. It shows him viewing these messages on mobile Discord, which you can inspect on or edit the text like you can on a simple image. This last section is the part that makes this a traumatic experience for me. If you're a minor and or are sensitive to descriptive sexual topics, I recommend that you skip this section entirely. For that crowd, I think you've heard all that you really need to hear at this point, and you can close the video if you'd like. For those of you who know you can handle it, here's where it gets at its worst. I'd find out that throughout our relationship, Index would repeatedly come up with very descriptive and detailed sexual fantasies about me behind my back, and share them with the same friend that he confessed his sexual affair to. I have no clue how else to transition into this. My thoughts are still clouded and confused around this topic, and so I'm going to get started with the screenshots right away. And you're very welcome, Bree. We both cuddle with my you-know in between her thighs and up against her you-know, and we're both like dripping. Sometimes feeling each other. Sometimes I rub a bit. Sometimes maybe we came a little. Yeah. Like it's not even out of horniness. I just love her so much. With Bree, I imagine that, I'm so weird, started with passionate makeout, then led to touching, and then she got on top and started rubbing her you-know against my you-know, and then we both came while locking lips, then we screwed with me on top of her, then we both finished. Anyways, good morning. These are just a couple examples. We just didn't want to overwhelm y'all with so many of them. 2 gets the point across. But there apparently are several more where that came from. He also still knew how I feel about sexual topics, the idea of having sex, and everything of the sort, as shown in this screenshot below. I can't. She's too innocent, and I love her too much to ever think about her in that way. Once again, he justifies it with just loving me so much, but love doesn't ignore those boundaries. He knew how I felt, and still went and pictured all of these scenarios of me having sex with him. You truly do not do that unless you want it so badly. He knew how I felt about it, yet kept it going with fantasy after fantasy. I just feel so violated and objectified. I felt like a big pillar of our relationship was our reciprocation of not having a sex drive. To find out that it was all not only a lie, but that he was genuinely disgusting about the thought of me is way too much for me to handle. It's not like he was only hiding that from me either. Part of his public image to most people watching this video was that he wasn't horny either. He lied to all of you as well. Again, he's so casual about it. Like, he genuinely felt no remorse whatsoever. I don't even really feel safe knowing that someone would think about me in that way while knowing my boundaries, let alone the person I trusted the most for a year and a half. I'm disgusted. I think he's disgusting. Another phone screen recording from my friend of one of these sexual tangents will now be shown as further proof. I'm sorry for rambling and venting here again, but being able to write my feelings and emotions down and being able to get them out publicly is practically a requirement for me to find any sort of peace from this. With how big of a platform he has, and as an Atos developer, I just can't ignore his existence. It hurt me to see that he was someone capable of this much deception and everyone was buying into it, including me for the longest time. Below is a written testimony from my friend who provided me the evidence for these last two sections and how his communications with Index came up as well as his concerns behind Index's antics. Alright. Want to say this maybe started around May of 2023? May have been later than that, I'm not sure. Index and I grew close together and we started having pretty deep conversations. Index and Bree were together for maybe about 7 months at this time. We quickly bonded as we were both pretty sexually frustrated, and although we never did any sexual things, we would talk a lot about our fantasies and what we liked. Keep in mind, Index was 17 and I was 14. It got a little out of hand, but since both of us were relatively porn addicted, we saw no issue in sharing what sexual fantasies we had. He would soon start informing me about his past sexual relations on Discord, one of which happened during Bree's relationship, although I am unsure if there are more cases. And although Bree has explicitly requested Index not to depict her in sexual ways or to start a relationship that would turn sexual, which Index seemed to agree with, Index would tell me his fantasies between him and Bree. Seeing as I was in a similar situation that Index was, I saw no problem. However, looking back, it is definitely odd for a 17-year-old dude to depict his sexual fantasies about his girlfriend to a 14-year-old. We would soon start sharing pornographic material through his alternate account, and it happened pretty frequently until we slowly grew apart around earlier this year. Although I myself am part to blame for having been in a similar situation, I will say that Index did not take this situation seriously. Seeing as he is depicted as someone who is mature, he took advantage of that and used that as a gateway to talk about his sexual frustration to someone significantly younger than him, as well as cheating on his partner with someone else. Although Index and I did not establish... Oh, wait. Although Index and I did not establish a sort of friends with benefits relationship at all during this period, I still find it odd that he would use his maturity as a gateway to talk about his sexual problems. That's really all from my side of the story. Thanks. Finally, for a final point, I mentioned that Index is still in close contact with the person he had an affair with that caused our relationship to end. I'll come out and say that I'm scared for this person as there's a pretty significant age gap between them, a little over 2 years. If Index cannot go through a relationship without going off into sexual fantasy land, that deeply concerns me. Here's some screenshots showing that there is in fact an age gap and the potential of a relationship between each other was most definitely there. And this is the other person saying their age. And here are more screenshots. We do. We have for a while, but I'm going to spend a few more months with them before deciding if I should get with them or not. That's Index saying he plans to get with this person in the future. Although it might be for the better, I am really, really concerned, mostly due to the age gap and how dependent both of you seem to be on each other. Both of us have acknowledged the age gap and will take caution, and I'm working on the dependency, because I really do not want this to end up with both of you becoming so unhealthily dependent that it becomes a wreck. I promise that we're working on it. Mostly due to the fact that this guy is still 15 and his mind hasn't even fully developed yet. I'm not doubting that. I'm just expressing my concerns, that's all. And I'm sure you see where I'm coming from. Your concerns are valid, and we've had those concerns too. They were acknowledged long ago. I just heavily advise you both to work on not being so dependent together. To end this off, I'll just directly repeat what I said at the start. I don't want to see jokes about this. I'm also not directly calling for him to get completely exiled from any community. If that happens, I won't complain. If you watch this and you decide to still keep him in your life, I'm okay with that too. Just don't harass me, please. I'll also be turning off my DMs to strangers for the release of this video. The amount of attention this could potentially draw to me in the community is honestly scaring me, and so I don't want to be flooded by people. Also, please don't send me a friend request if you don't really know me just so you can DM me. I won't accept. Lastly, whatever you do with this information, please handle it in a mature way. You can cut him off, not trust him, keep him around, whatever. But do not do things such as going out of your way to harass him or send threats to him. Harassing someone is never the right thing to do. As I'm the person who suffered as a result of what he did and hid, I don't want him being harassed either. Let people exist, and hopefully he changes for the better in the future. That concludes the video. Remember, this entire chunk was completely me taking on Bree's voice. So I just want to clarify, Silas, was not in any way affiliated with Index, and I'm completely just reading what I have seen. And again, as I've stated earlier in the video at the very start, if you have any questions, go to me, and do not hound Bree for this. Don't witch hunt any of the censored names, and be patient with everyone as closure is slowly being found. I am Silas, and this has been a bit of a roller coaster. Goodbye.